Oh, hi, everyone. I'm Pat Sajak. Oh, I know what you're thinking. I arrived at the ballpark too early. Unless you're a pessimist and you think I got here too late. Well, the truth is that this ballpark at Camden Yards in Baltimore, just like 29 others in Major League Baseball cities across America, is a fun place to visit whether there's a game being played or not. Hard to believe, but hundreds of thousands of people go to ballparks each year and never see a baseball game. Why would anyone go to a ballpark if there weren't a game? Well, we're about to find out. So whether you're a huge baseball fan like me or you wonder what all the fuss is about, you'll still want to stick around and see why adding a baseball park tour to your travel plans is such a good idea. Now, I've been a baseball fan for as long as I can remember. And like most fans, I attend the games, I look at the stats, I check out the standings every day. I even have my own weekly baseball show on the internet. I'm not kidding. You can log on and check it out for yourself. But I realized that even with all my experience, if I were going to do a big league baseball park tour, I'd have to have a team of experts with me. So I put together a great team, and here is my starting lineup. Ladies and gentlemen. Leading off, it's Joe Mock. Joe's a writer from Round Rock, Texas, who wrote Joe Mock's Ballpark Guide. Next up, it's the double play specialist Brad Null and Dave Pavel. They co-authored the book, The Summer That Saved Baseball. And from Charlotte, North Carolina, it's baseball park phenom Jay Ahuja. His book is Fields of Dreams, a guide to visiting and enjoying all 30 Major League ballparks. Today's pitchers are Bruce Adams and Margaret Engel, a husband and wife team who wrote Fodor's Baseball Vacations. And in the cleanup position, it's Joe Connor, whose website is called modernera baseball.com. Those are my experts, and for today's show, I've given them quite a challenge. From the 14 ballparks in the American League, I've asked them to select the 5 that are most unique. Now, if you thought that all ballparks are the same, you're mistaken.
Well, aside from the bases being 90 feet apart, ballparks vary greatly from one city to another. And the best thing about a good ballpark is that it reflects the character of the city in which it's located.
And there's no better example of a ballpark reflecting its community than right here at Oriole Park at Camden Yards in Baltimore.
When I moved to Maryland in 1981, downtown Baltimore was not a very attractive place, kind of run down, especially near the harbor area. But during the 1980s, a huge urban renewal movement took place, greatly improving that area. And over the course of several years, that urban renewal movement came down this direction to Camden Yards. To me, the crowning achievement of the whole revitalization of the downtown area in Baltimore is the baseball park where the Orioles play.
This ballpark, with its 1,016-foot-long railroad warehouse just beyond right field, shows how Baltimore managed to blend the design of a modern baseball facility with the city's history as a railroad hub. Back in the 1800s, Baltimore became the birthplace of the modern railroad. In fact, less than a mile from the warehouse is Montclair Station, the first rail station in the U.S., and it now houses the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad Museum. This warehouse, the longest building on the eastern seaboard, was erected in 1905 and became an important element in the operation of the B&O Railroad. Now it's an important element for the Baltimore Orioles, but that wasn't always the plan.
The original designs for this ballpark called for the warehouse to be torn down. It was abandoned. People in Baltimore felt it was more or less an eyesore. But when the concept of leaving the warehouse in place finally came into the picture, it changed everything.
The warehouse has been converted into the home for the Orioles front office, and it's become the park's most prominent icon.
When you sit there and you see it in right field, and it's just gorgeous and so unique. I mean, no other park has something like that. So,
and we had an opportunity to go into the warehouse. Actually, that's how we got into the stadium, and we actually got to watch the beginning of a game from the club level in the warehouse, and even the men's bathroom.
The men's bathroom has a window with a view of the field, so you can use the facilities and also, watch the game being played. So
It's the only place in baseball I know afford such an opportunity.
Oriole Park here at Camden Yards in Baltimore is a fitting place to begin our ballpark tour because all of my experts agreed that this facility was the birthplace of the new style urban ballpark.
This was the ballpark that moved away from the concrete donuts with the plastic grass of the 1970s into the new era of the 1990s and now in this century that has just transformed baseball and made it such a richer experience and going back to the golden days of the 20s and the teens.
This ballpark has been opened only since 1992, but it's seen some significant events, even though a World Series championship was not one of them. But one of the most memorable events ever recorded on this field took place on September 6, 1995, when beloved Oriole Cal Ripken broke Lou Gehrig's record of consecutive games by playing in his 2,131st. I'm here on Utah Street between the warehouse and the field. On game days, this place is filled with fans and vendors. One of the things you might want to check out when you come here are these commemorative brass baseball plaques.
When somebody hits a home run and it lands on Utah Street beyond the center field, right field wall, the Orioles, a great organization, will have a brass baseball made noting who hit the home run, when that occurred, and I think that's great for a fan.
This warehouse provides the perfect target for power hitters, but the first player to hit it on the fly was Ken Griffey Jr. Now this plaque, actually, that plaque right there, marks the spot where he smacked one during the All-Star Game Home Run Derby in 1993. But that's the kind of cool stuff you can learn when you take a tour of the ballpark.
When you come here for a tour at Oriole Park, we start on Utah Street. We give you a little history about the B&O Railroad, a little history about the warehouse. We take you out to Camden Street, show you the station, the Babe Ruth statue, and then you enter the park, and that's where your first glimpse of the field is. You get to see the bullpen area, and then we go into the luxury suites on the club level. That's a lot of places that people don't get to normally see that viewpoint.
One of the best parts of taking a ballpark tour is getting down in the field. Walking around the warning track and getting to sit in the dugout are highlights for most visitors, though you may not be able to walk on the grass because that has to be maintained all year round. We talked to Al Capitos, the head groundskeeper here at Oriole Park, to get the secrets of his trade.
Well, I don't know if there's a whole lot of secrets we do here at Oriole Park. We stick to the basics, and on a game day, we get here very early, and we start grooming the field. That involves cutting the grass, making the dirt nice and smooth and flat, and getting the right moisture inside the dirt, checking the mounds, checking the home plate, putting the chalk lines down, and make sure generally the overall appearance of the park is very clean and consistent for the players. And then as soon as the game's done, we get it all cleaned up, and we go home and start again. I often say this sport would be great without the actual baseball games, They chews up the field, but it's called job security, They come out here, they tear it up, and we make it better every day.
Boy, I got to tell you, this is really quite a thrill to be able to sit in the Orioles dugout. I mean, I can only imagine what it must be like down here when a big game's on the line and I'm the hitter they're looking to pull the game out. I can only imagine because I've never been in that position. But one man who is not ordinarily associated with the Orioles was in that position quite often. I'm talking about Babe Ruth and his attachment to Baltimore. He's, of course, known for playing for the Yankees, but he was actually born and raised here in Baltimore. In fact, his father owned a bar called Ruth's Cafe that once stood right out there in center field.
Well, when this stadium was being constructed, there was a lot of debate about what name was going to be on the ballpark. And there was some popular sentiment to name it after Babe Ruth because he was born just a couple of blocks away from the ballpark here.
Well, he didn't get his name on the park, but he did get this statue at the Utah Street entrance. If you follow the 60 baseballs painted on the sidewalk, one for each of the 60 home runs he hit during his record-setting 1927 season, you'll find the brick row house that's been converted into a museum.
Babe Ruth was born in the house that we're standing in 1895. People who aren't interested necessarily in the history of baseball might be interested in the history of Baltimore, which is depicted in the historic house, how a lower middle-class German immigrant family lived on the Baltimore waterfront. The most important artifacts in our Babe Ruth collection would have to be a game-used bat from 1927 when Babe hit 60 home runs. The average player uses a bat that weighs 31, 32 ounces. Babe used bats anywhere from 42 to 52 ounces. And the bat we have is 44 ounces.
So, as if you needed another reason to visit this magnificent facility at Camden Yards, how about the fact that you'll be standing near the birthplace of one of the most influential people ever to play the game, Baltimore-born George Herman Ruth.